Hello class, Mr. Guarino here. In this video I'm going to illustrate how to use a program that's not web-based but yet still save files from that program into your Google Drive. So when you're using a web-based program like Google Docs or Google Classroom or even a web-based program like CodeHS, you're saving your work is being saved to the cloud. So when you're in Google Classroom, the stuff you get from your teacher is saved in your teacher's drive, and when you're doing work in the classroom and saving stuff and submitting, all that stuff's getting saved in your Google Drive, and which is all cloud-based. So Google Drive makes everything work. If you're using another cloud-based program, then they're storing stuff in some drive on their servers in the cloud. But if you're using a program that's basically intended to work on PC and save to the hard drive of the PC which you're using, then you need to do something to be able to save things in Google Drive, which is a great thing if you can, because if you're working on a Chromebook one day and a Windows PC the next and somebody other computers the next day, you can still find all your stuff because it's not saved locally on the machine that you're using. It's saved to the cloud in your drive. So here's how you do it. Click on a Windows PC here, click on the Start button, find Google Drive. Obviously, if you're using your own PC, you're going to have to install Google Drive. But if you're using one of our Windows PCs in our classroom, I've already installed it, but you have to sign in. So you click Google Drive, and it may look like it's doing nothing, but what it does often is it puts it down here. So you get a little icon here, Google Drive. You have to click on that, and then of course you have to click sign in. It goes to Google Chrome. If you're already signed in Chrome, this may just work. If you're not, click on an account, click sign in, and if you need to put in your password, obviously put in your password. Now I've signed in as a fictitious student, Mr. G.test. So it says it's loading my files. I click OK. If I go here, here's our Google Drive icon. You can click on that. You can go to Preferences. And then we have two different things here. And this is just some options. You really don't have to change anything there. My computer, you don't have to change anything here. When you click on this gear, you'll see your account up here. You can disconnect it, which you don't want to do. You want to use it. This real-time presence in Microsoft Office, we're not using Microsoft Office. You can leave it checked or unchecked. But notice this, Google Drive letter is G. It always wants to be G, I guess, for Google Drive, but you could change it to other things. If it's not connected to G, and it kind of works best if it is, and you notice that, if you want, you can call me over. What happens lots of times is, if the letter G is not available because the PC has used that letter to assign to something else, like if somebody plugged in their cell phone and it recognizes it as a storage device or any other storage device, a thumb drive, and it gives it that letter, because every device has to have a drive letter in a Windows PC. If that's already given, then one of the things you can do is just connect that device, and then you'll free up the letter G, and then you can connect G over here. So that's just something a little tricky, but it should almost always connect with G because there shouldn't be a lot of other things connected to the computer. But just so you know, that's why it could possibly not have the letter G, and then you can disconnect the device and change it back to G, or if it's got the letter J, just use it as J. Just realize it's not going to be G anymore. It's going to be J or K or H, whatever. Okay, so I'm just going to close this out. Really, you shouldn't have to even go there and look at anything because now you're connected. So now if I want to look at my drive, I click the Windows folder, and I see my Google Drive letter G here. Click that. I go to my drive, and this is all the stuff in my drive, which I could also go to Google Chrome, sign in with my fictitious student there, go to Google, go to my drive, and here you see things that are in my drive, just some pictures and whatever. Okay, I have a folder for classroom because if I join a classroom, that automatically sets that up. And this, I was just testing some stuff one day. But now, where are we going to save our stuff? Well, I set up a folder with all of my students inside of my drive and shared it with everyone. So if I go to shared with me as my fictitious student again, we'll see that there's a folder here that I shared yesterday called Mr. G 10101 CAWDGP. So what's that stand for? Well, this is my name. Here's my student ID, let's say. That's fictitious. And then this is our course, Computer Animation, Web Design, Game Programming. So that's the two courses put together into one folder. But when you go to your Google Drive, you don't see that here. And the reason for that is it's not in your drive, it's in my drive, and it's shared with you. The way to get it here so that you can save stuff to it through a Windows-based program, because you can't, well, I mean, you could save stuff to the hard drive on which you're sitting and then remember to upload everything to this folder. But we don't want to do that. That's cumbersome. Let's make it more seamless, more efficient. So the way you do it is you right-click on this and you say Add Shortcut to Drive. And you just want to add it to Drive. So you just say Add Shortcut. So now instead of having to go to shared with me, I just go to my drive and I see that folder. If I double click it, it goes to actually Mr. Guarino's folder and saves everything there in a folder he set up for you to access as a shared drive, well, as a folder that's been shared with you, not a shared drive, and you access it through that shortcut. So you can see I have a picture in there already. That's as my student, not as Mr. Guarino, the teacher. And if I go back to my drive and you scroll down, you'll see, oh, these are all the pictures. Where's that thing? Well, sometimes when you're doing cloud-based stuff, you want something to sync. It takes a couple seconds for it to show up. One way to force it is if you hit the F5 key, it refreshes. And let's see. Oh, and there it is. So now if I double click this, you'll see that same picture is in my drive through my Windows-based, what we call Windows Explorer. So now, if I'm in a program and I want to open this, let's just do a very simple program for right now. One of the simplest programs you get when you have a Windows machine. And there's other simple programs like this on other types of things. Like a Mac would have one too. I'm not a Mac person. But under Windows accessories, they give you some really basic programs. Notepad is like the most basic text editor. So if you just want to type something, it's like no formatting, no anything. Paint is like the most simplest sort of picture editor. So let's open that. You don't have to do any of this, just an example. So if I go to File, Open, and I go to my Google Drive, and then My Drive, and then where's my shortcut? Oh, there it is. Double click that. Here's that picture. I click on that once. I say Open. Here's that picture. If I want to select something and just do a little editing, let's say I just want this thing. Then I crop. Again, you don't have to do this, but once you've edited something and you want to save it, File, Save As. Actually, I want to do File. That doesn't matter. I'm going to do a PNG. Why? I don't know. And I just call it Patterns of Evidence. And where am I going to save it? My Google Drive, which it's there already because I opened it from there, which is a great thing. So, but here's how you navigate to it. And then I click Save. And then I'm going to close this. And notice it's here. It's not here just yet, but it's syncing because it's got that little symbol. And then once it's fully synced, there it is in my cloud drive. Well, looking at it through the browser of Google Chrome. So that's how you connect your drive, your Windows Explorer drive, to your cloud-based drive. So in our class, everything we save, you're going to save to this. So you have to create that shortcut so you can save everything there, and then you have access to it, and I have access to it. So I can check your work from any computer which I'm sitting at. Okay, one other thing. to get stuff to save here, you saw how I saved it through that little simple program called Paint. But what if you're on the internet and you're searching up a picture like pizza? And you want to save, I don't know. Look at that. That's pretty cool. Let's say you want to save this picture over here. Oh, Villa Pizza in Homedale. I've gone there. Not too often, but I've gone there. So now if I right click, and I always like to do this, open image in new tab. Make sure it's just an image, no navigation, not a website, and I want to save it. If I right click and go save image as, it always wants to download to my downloads file. In fact, if I go to my settings and I click advanced and go to downloads, see this folder right here with the C? That means the computer that I'm sitting on, a Windows-based machine. So then it's not saving to the cloud, so that's not good. So what you want to do is have this pushed over so that it always asks where you want to save it, so that when you do this, save image as, it gives you this dialog box. Oops. And instead of saving it to downloads on the computer where you're sitting, because if you ever want to find that picture again, you're going to have to sit on that same computer. Can't do it on the Chromebook and then go to the Windows PC, or PC and go to Windows and go to the Chromebook, or just change from one PC to another. It's only going to be on that one PC. So you always want to get this dialog box and say where to save it. Now you could just go to Google Drive, My Drive, and that shortcut. But look, if you're working on a project where you're going to do a website all about pizza, you probably want a folder inside this shortcut where you're going to save everything, so it's all in one place. So let's cancel this and go back to our drive and say, okay, here's my drive, here's those two pictures, right? So Google Drive, My Drive, find the shortcut, double click that, and then make a new folder, and let's just call it pizza website. So now if I go back to Chrome and I right click this and say save image as, I switch it always from downloads, don't leave it there. Google Drive, My Drive, find the shortcut, double click the folder you made and save it, and don't call it download, that's a dumb name. Pizza pick 1, I don't know. And then it saves it there. So when you go back here, pizza website, there's your pizza. And if you go back to your drive, it said new folder, but now it's synced, so it says pizza website. And if I double click, there's my pizza pick 1. So that's how you use your Google Drive desktop app, they call it. I think it used to be called Google Drive File Stream. And the reason for that is it's not actually ever saving anything on your computer. It's streaming and syncing with your online Google Cloud Drive. Great for when you're using products or programs that aren't web-based, like the entire Adobe suite, which they do call it Creative Cloud, which is kind of weird because they say cloud. They do have their own cloud storage, but if you're in a school system that's paying for the Google suite, you're going to want to use your cloud storage that's already set up, and that's the way to do it. Thank you.